go home. November 4th, 9 p.m. The exterminators just left. Said they got all the snakes this time. Doubts. November 5th, 5 p.m. Kiefer came into the store again today and made some thinly veiled threats. He asked about Carlos, too, but I told him I was tired of being the go-between and that if he had business with Carlos, he needed to take it up with Carlos. That's when Kiefer started getting weird. You know this place is just a big experiment, and you're the little mouse. I asked Kiefer to buy something or leave, so he bought a pack of toothpaste, then started to undress in the store and rub the toothpaste on his naked body. They tell me that something's wrong with your brain. Is that true? I tried to be polite and avert my eyes and answered, yeah. You have some kind of mental condition? I answered again, yeah?
Yeah.
That's too bad. Hey, at this point, Kiefer was completely naked. He walked over to the frozen drink machine and filled a large cup with a sugary red concoction before turning it upside down on top of his head. Then he shook himself violently like a wet dog, flinging bits of cold, sticky debris across everything from the ceiling to the walls, some of it even landing on my face, but I tried not to let him see me flinch. I knew this was all just an attempt to intimidate me, and I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. What is it exactly? He asked as he crossed back to where this pile of clothes waited for him. What? What is your condition? Paranoia? Schizophrenia? Gay? No, I answered. I don't sleep. You don't sleep? He sounded genuinely interested. Right. Never. I can't fall asleep. I haven't slept a single day since high school. It's a rare genetic condition with no cure and no treatment, and one day it'll kill me. But until then, I handle the effect as best I can. Kiefer nodded. That must be it. That must be why he can't reach you. Why who can't reach me? Right then, Spencer came into the store. He threw a blanket around Kiefer and ushered him out of the waiting SUV. A moment later, he came back into the store and offered me $100 for the security tape for tonight. Yeah, I wonder what I'll spend my $100 on. 9 p.m. I was beginning to suspect something wasn't quite right in the store. I've been finding empty candy bar wrappers strewn about, security tapes mysteriously deleted, strange noises coming through the walls in the middle of the night when I should be alone. At least, more strange noises than usual. At first, I assumed it was just raccoons. But now I know the truth. Now, I know that Marlboro has been living here for the last 2 days. He just walked out of that supply closet wearing a bathrobe, nodded to me as he grabbed a stack of beef jerky, and went into the bathroom. It had not even occurred to me that Marlboro had never left. November 6th, 4 a.m. It finally happened. I suppose it was only a matter of time. I know that I should be feeling regret or shame or any other emotions that normally people feel after something like this happened. But all I feel is embarrassed. I came to a couple of hours ago with a shovel in my hand. I've been digging again, and this time I had made some serious progress. The hole was at least 7 feet deep. The steep walls made of loose red clay. It took me a while to realize that I was staring up into an inky black night, peppered with uncountable stars. When some of the bigger celestial stars were actually just the soulless red eyes of the mutant raccoons staring down at me over the edge of the hole. Probably looking for food. Shit, I chucked the shovel out of the hole, and that's when I heard it. Imagine the sound of a butcher's knife hitting a watermelon, like a solid wet whack. Imagine the watermelon gurgling and falling over like a sack of potatoes. Oh man, this metaphor is getting kind of away from me here. When I climbed out of the hole, I saw the shovel standing upright, the business end firmly lodged inside the chest of a still twitching Kiefer. The Kiefer was dead before I got to his side. In some kind of final act of defiance, he had turned both of his middle fingers up to me. I felt like the slightest amount of respect for him before I went to a mental state that I can only describe as subdued panic. The first thing I wanted to do was find something to wrap the body in, because surely Spencer Middleton would come for it soon. So when I went into the gas station, I was surprised to find that Marlboro had taken it upon himself to work the cash register while I was gone. He was ringing up one of our regulars, Charles, the big fat man that always buys soap and boiled peanuts. I nabbed the tarp off the shelf, took it outside, and that's when I learned something. Kiefer is heavy, like Really heavy. Like, I understand that a human body is basically just a meaty, fleshy water balloon full of guts and excrement, but nothing could prepare me for how leaky and gross and heavy a dead man can be. It was only by some miracle that I managed to drag Kiefer through the back door and into the freezer without being seen. Took all my strength to pull the mass behind the boxes, under the stack, and the other drinks. When I finally finished, I worked up a sweat, and the cold of the freezer wasn't enough to keep me cool, because I stood there letting my breath come out and the adrenaline wear off and took stock of my situation. That's when it dawned on me. There were 4 Kiefers in the freezer with me. 4!
Can y'all hear me?
Kiefers. Where the hell did the other 2 come from? The freezer door opened and Marlboro entered, dragging a dead Kiefer by the legs. He stopped, made eye contact with me. When he saw the Kiefers at my feet, that's the only thing I could think of. Well, this is awkward. Marlboro and I decided to open a bottle of Strega, have a few drinks. He explained that he had accidentally killed Kiefer a couple times. I totally understood. The guy was easy to kill. At one point, Carlos came into the freezer to grab a box of cookie dough. Didn't even acknowledge all the Kiefers.
All expendables restored.
My laptop battery is currently at 2%. It's obvious now that I won't be able to transcribe the rest of my journals before it dies. I don't have the time to tell you how I ended up in the bottom of that hole underneath the store with a broken leg, but I can tell you that I hear someone moving around above me, which is good, because I don't think I'm alone down here. Now, if you're hearing this, it means that I managed to upload my story. If you're not hearing this, then...
Oh.
Where even are you? Someone just called my name from the top of the precipice. I think it was Carlos. I wonder what happened to Tom. So why didn't Tom ever show up?
And armor restored.
I'm thinking of
teammates
I
revived.
seem to remember Tom had survived the Halloween incident. Wait, who the hell have I been talking to this whole time? I promised that if I survive long enough to recharge my battery, I'll come back and tell the rest. Until then, I guess this story is to be continued.
Militia only attack from close range. Take them out before they get near.
Hey everybody, it's me, Jerry from the gas station at the edge of town. Proud to be the newest member of the team. The owners were so impressed with how I managed to stay inside the store for several days without leaving or going insane that they offered me a full-time position while the regular clerk is out recovering from his leg injury. Happy Monday, y'all. The other guy asked me to do him a small favor while he's getting some much-needed rest and relaxation. He gave me the password to his laptop and detailed instructions to transcribe his journal entries from last week. In exchange, he agreed to keep me on as a full-time assistant after he gets back. I get to learn what to expect on the job through his first-hand documentation, and he gets to continue his weird little blog thing. Now that's what I call a win-win. If I'm being honest, this is probably the best thing that could have happened to me right now. Ever since the program mysteriously dissolved at the mathematist community, I've been feeling very lost and vulnerable. I've been losing weight and having trouble sleeping, and when I do, I keep having these weird dreams of some enormous being deep below the gas station waiting to devour us all. Clearly, a mistake was made and I was overlooked. If any of my old brothers and sisters are out there and see this post, please contact me. Tell the seniors they forgot me. I'm not mad. I miss you. I love you. Before I get started, some guys in suits came by and suggested that if this blog were going to continue, that I make a PSA. If there is anybody still alive that read the story about what happened here on Halloween, don't wait for symptoms to start. Please go to the nearest emergency room or call the Center for Disease Control and tell them you are experiencing the effects of Rommel's syndrome. Anyway, back to the journals. I'm going to do my best because the guy's handwriting is awful, but here's the parts I could read. 7 p.m. The man in the trench coat was standing out back when I went to take out the garbage tonight. I don't know why the man in the trench coat keeps visiting my store or why I've never gotten a good look at him. He was standing at the tree line just beyond the dumpsters, staring, as he ever did. Tonight, I stared back. The hinge of his jaw began halfway up his face where his nose should have been, the edges pulled back to either ear in a skeletal grin. His tiny, milky white eyes were beads behind the oily black hairline that hung down straight in bangs all the way to his cheek jowl. to possibly wide mouth bisected the head between greasy hair and wet flesh. Drool, I would assume. We stood there, 15 feet apart, staring at one another for what might have been 10 seconds or 10 minutes, until finally, the man in the trench coat turned away. His legs bent funny, in a way that he shouldn't be able to bend, and he landed on all fours before galloping off into the woods. I don't know if I've seen the last of the man in the trench coat.
All expendables restored.
Holy shit, did you guys read that? This is some crazy shit. Sorry, Jerry again. I promise, I'm not gonna do the running commentary thing. I just had to say, Jesus, you know? This is some weird stuff. I mean, I remember him telling me a couple weeks ago to go outside and talk to a man in a trench coat. I'm super glad I didn't now. What the hell? Okay, that's it. I'm done. Back to the transcriptions. The next page is soaked in blood and completely unreadable. I'm gonna have to skip that part. Hundreds and hundreds of them. She had never seen so many in one place before, not even in her dreams. Before she left, she told me that I would see her again. Was that supposed to be a warning or a flirtation? 3:23 a.m. It's a quieter night than I'm used to. The package from yesterday afternoon still sits on the counter where I left it. The label is made out to me with a return address I don't recognize. The rectangular parcel is wrapped like a Christmas present with red and yellow stripes, and it feels heavy. I would say it's just the right size for a dead cat. I can't think of any realistic reason I shouldn't open the package, but there is something in the back of my mind telling me that to open this would be tantamount to opening Pandora's box. That the contents of this little parcel will irrevocably change the course of my life in a way that may have seemed impossible before. I feel like this box is full of butterflies ready to create tsunamis. And I'm just not sure I'm ready for that yet.
I did it.
I think I'm going to teach Marlboro how to clean the drink machines. 3:47 a.m. Marlboro's passed out in a hammock in the supply closet. I think he finished that bottle on his own. I guess I'll go and clean the drink machines myself. 5:45 a.m. The hand plants are growing faster than I had anticipated. They are now past the elbows, almost to the shoulders. I saw that the crop had caught a curious coyote that got too close. It was not pretty. I also noticed that Rocco was still alive. I caught him sitting on the roof, tossing food to the crop of hand plants. This is why they're growing too fast. They're eating way too much. If this gets out of control, I may have to torch this crop just like the others. I don't want to. It sends shivers down my spine whenever I hear the way they scream. 7:30 a.m. Carlos came in for his morning shift looking pretty terrible. He filled up on coffee and told me that he hadn't been sleeping too well. The bad dreams have been keeping him from getting a restful night. I wonder if I should tell Carlos about my condition. He asked about the gift wrap package sitting on the counter. I told him that it came with the post yesterday and I didn't know who it was from. He asked if I was going to open it, and I told him that I had a bad feeling and pretty much decided to never, ever open it. 10 a.m. I decided to open the package. Without any fanfare or drum roll, I'll just tell you that what I found inside was a brand new laptop computer. I've never owned my own laptop before, and the only computer that ever belonged to me was a crappy little Tandy 1000 that I put together as a kid. I've always used the library computer lab or the browser on my phone to access the internet. This could be a game changer. The box also contained a signal repeater and some other gizmos. I know this is crazy, but I think I may actually be able to access the internet from the gas station now. There was a handwritten note at the bottom of the package. Hello. I left a comment on your page. There's something I want to tell you. I'm enjoying reading these stories you're writing, but I think if you actually sit down and write out one story at a time, then you will get a lot more upvotes. But it right now seems like a lot of half stories thrown together. I think you'd do great if you actually write out a whole story at a time. I bet you really could get a lot of upvotes and attention. It gets kind of confusing right now. Maybe start with when you got there and work your way up to now. I bet that would be super awesome. I'm so fascinated, but a little muddled as well. I can tell you have a great talent for writing, but I just thought maybe I'd offer a suggestion to help. Please do not take offense. It's just something I was thinking. Hope all is going well for you. Great. Another one of my readers tracked me down. I'm gonna have to figure out how people keep finding me and put a stop to this. Thank you, whoever you are, for the laptop. I'm definitely keeping it. 10:15 a.m. I turned on the Wi-Fi card and noticed that for some reason there are dozens of secured networks around the gas station, most of which have 4 or 5 bars. The names for their networks are pure gobbledygook, like this one. 1E7G7C7TA11GUY232331324. Who the hell is transmitting Wi-Fi out here? 11 a.m. A man came into the store to buy a gas can a couple hours ago. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then he came back in asking if we could help him out with something down the road. I never got his name, but he was a big guy, tan skin and a thick beard. He said he was having car problems. I told him I wasn't a car guy, but he insisted that he didn't need a car guy. He just needed someone else to see what he was seeing. Marlboro agreed to watch the counter while Carlos and I followed the bearded man down the hill and around the curve, close to the spot where Carlos saw that thing in the woods. He couldn't remember what happened that night. After we got everything sorted out with Spencer and things started to go back to normal, I asked Carlos what it was that he saw in the woods that sent him running in such a careless panic, but he just shook his head and said he didn't know. The mind is a funny thing, and memories aren't the most reliable. I realize that I'm not the only person from the gas station with a list of try and forget stories. The man's car was parked on the side of the road, close to the same spot that Kiefer's SUV was broken down. So my car started acting funny, the guy said as we neared his vehicle. I began to wonder why we had walked this whole way when our own vehicle would have been quite useful in the case of a dead battery or, random bear attack. The guy kept going. I pulled over onto the side of the road when my electricals all started going haywire. I killed the engine, then when I tried to turn it over again, nada. I could see at this point that the hood was open. The man was driving a big black SUV similar to the one Kiefer owned, but newer and shinier. I don't see what's so weird about that. He needed us to call a tow, or the man cut Carlos off. Rudely, I might add. I popped the hood, but everything was in order. I thought it maybe just needed some gas, so I went up to the station. When I got back, I saw this. We rounded the front of the car and we saw this he was being so vague about. A small oak tree, maybe 4 or 5 years old, was growing up from the ground beneath the car, through the engine and stretched upwards at least 9 feet. The trunk of the tree had swallowed a decent portion of the engine, and from the looks of it, the car had been parked there for years. Interesting, I said. And you're sure that this wasn't here when you started driving? Before he could answer, he spun his head around and looked at the forest. You boys hear that? He asked. And listened. But I couldn't hear anything. No, I answered. Carlos shrugged. You boys know what an anglerfish is? The bearded man asked as he walked to the back door and opened it. Yeah, yes, I answered. The bearded man pulled up a secret compartment from beneath the floorboard and retrieved a large automatic rifle. Now, I'm not a gun guy, and I can't tell you what kind of gun it was, but it was big and impressive and cool looking. The guy checked the clip and clicked something on the gun that I guess could have been the safety. Again, I'm not a gun guy, but it sounded super cool. Carlos put a hand on my shoulder and slowly backed away from the man with the gun, pulling me with him. But the man didn't seem to mind us one bit. He was focused on whatever he heard in the woods. I'm right, you boys have an angler fish in them woods. It's putting something out there to lure me in, make me think I'm hearing something that I'm not. Then, when I go looking for the one thing, bam, it attacks. Oh, like a siren? I asked. The man looked at me over his shoulder with a smirk and said, yeah, like a siren. Y'all may want to get out of here. This can get dangerous. Don't worry about me. I've dealt with these things before. I'll be fine. The man pointed his gun and marched into the woods while Carlos and I made our way back to the gas station. 2 p.m. It's time for me to go home. I haven't used the laptop yet, but maybe tomorrow I'll start to type up these journals. November 8th. 6 p.m. It's getting dark so early these days. I noticed that the bearded man's SUV is still at the bottom of the hill with the tree growing through it. I would not call that a good sign. 11 p.m. I burned the rest of the hand plants. I finally know what's going on. A long time ago, I noticed what looked like strange mushrooms growing in a patch near the dumpster behind the gas station. I didn't think much about them, except that it was strange that Rocco's brood wouldn't go near them. When I took a closer look, I could have sworn that they looked like baby fingers poking out of the ground. As the weather got warmer, I kept an eye on the crops. They started getting longer and looking more and more distinguishably similar to human fingers. I swear they even started growing fingernails. Sometimes I would see them bend at the digits to squash a bug that wandered too close. Eventually, the mushrooms started sprouting leaves, and the finger sections continued to stretch out, creating what could only be described as hands, human hands. They would ball up into fists during